Hi, I'm Kiran Gollakota, and this is Kevin Whitaker, Executive Editor for Sports at the Daily Princetonian, and this is On the Prowl. If you've been watching this for a while, which I know you all have, we had senior forward and co-captain Kareem Maddox on the show the week before last, and towards the end, I said that if the Tigers won the Ivy League championship, I would give myself a mohawk. And we're on the prowl. So, where to begin? I think we left off last time with the men's team losing at Harvard. That was obviously not the best game for the Tigers. Things looked a little lopsided then.
They did. Tiger in the second half of that game just sort of got run out of the building by Harvard. Guard Brandon Curry, Keith Wright, Kyle Casey all sort of stepped up, had big games. Tigers had no real way to stop it, which left them needing 2 wins in 2 games to earn a berth for the NCAA tournament.
And the first of those games came at the Palestra against Penn on Tuesday night. And, you know, our games against Penn are always heated. It's been our longest rivalry. It didn't start out so great. Oh no, it started out very well actually, and then got a little bit worse.
It did. Princeton down by as many as 8 points early in the second half. Head coach Sidney Johnson on the bench took a timeout early in the second half there. Really sort of lit into his team in a way that he rarely does. Sort of saying that Penn was playing harder than us, and he knew that his season was on the line. Chance at an NCAA tournament berth was on the line. And it really worked. Princeton just came out, lights out in the second half. I believe it was 14 of 18 shooting. Just dominated the Quakers in their own building to force a 1-game playoff.
So at this point, we've got Princeton and we've got Harvard sharing the Ivy League championship, which is apparently why Harvard stormed the court last Saturday. But as we pointed out many, many times to all Harvard students everywhere, just winning the Ivy League championship when you're sharing with a team like Princeton is no guarantee that you're going to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to diminish what Harvard did. Still, its first share of an NCAA tournament, its first share of an Ivy League title ever.
Right.
Which is still a big deal. And They had reason to be confident going into this playoff game. They were a slight favorite in most places you looked, had them, but certainly was going to be a tough game.
And you were there, so set the scene for us. What's the crowd like? What's Yale like at this point?
Yeah, the crowd split exactly down the middle, red shirts on one side of the gym, orange shirts on the other. 2 student sections are actually separated by a buffer of about 10 seats or so, just to keep them, just in case anything got crazy. But it was, I have to say, it was the loudest gym I've ever been in my life.
Right, so this game starts out close. It remains tight in a way that the previous Saturday's game never was.
Well, yes and no. Previous Saturday's game was a 1-point game at halftime, but where things got interesting was the second half. Sort of both games, early in the second half, Harvard took control with a little run. Harvard is up sort of between 5 and 10 points for a lot of the second half, for the early stages of the second half in both games. It sort of came down to, would Harvard make a run and sort of put the game away? This time was Princeton getting back in.
And things that really impressed me in this game were the way Kareem Maddox came off the bench, 6-man, starts the second half, but just lights it up. I mean, gives his team an energy that didn't always see during that game. It's something pretty impressive.
Yeah, Maddox, named the defensive player in the year early in the week, sort of showed that, but obviously he has considerable talent on the offensive end too. Had a couple tough shots from the post, drew a couple fouls. Was a big part of the reason why Keith Wright got into foul trouble with 4 fouls in the second half, after having 0 fouls in the first half.
And in the second half, Doug Davis, been a little quiet for most of these, makes a huge shot to get the Tigers ahead when the score is still in the 50s.
He does, yeah. First pull-up jumper on the left side, his foot was on the line, I think, for a 2-pointer, closed the gap to 2. Then next possession he comes down, hits a 3 from the right side. This is, late stages of the second half to go ahead 51-50. Harvard called a timeout right after. You could see there was so much excitement in the gym. Everyone knew the final 5 minutes were just going to be tight and were going to be amazing.
And obviously, they were crazy. And here we have Harvard up 62-61. Last few seconds of the game, Doug Davis gets the ball, runs down, expects a timeout maybe, doesn't get it from Coach J, and goes in for a layup, doesn't make it, doesn't get the foul call. Now, we've got a timeout, 2.8 seconds left on the clock. Dan Mavrides takes the inbound, finds Doug, and, I mean, I saw it on TV, but you were there, so...
Yep, I was there. Doug Davis takes 2 dribbles to the right, I think, pump fakes. Oliver McNally was sort of a little bit lost on the whole play. He's the one guarding Davis. So he bites hard on the pump fakes. He's closing out. He's a little trying to catch up anyways. But tremendous patience by Davis to know that he had a full 2.8 seconds to use. Most of the time in that sort of situation, you're going to see players take up shots that with still a full second remaining or so when they can get a better look by waiting. Great patience by Davis. Pump fakes. Leans in, short mid-range jumper, and nothing but net, of course. Place goes crazy. Hit it right in front of the Princeton student section, so I'm sure if you've seen on the replay, players get to him by the time the ball hits the floor.
And obviously a very special moment for Coach Johnson and this year's Tigers, 4 years after Princeton sat at the bottom of the Ivy League with not a really bright future ahead of them. Coach Johnson's turned this program around, has brought them from the pits to the top, and they were clearly rewarded for that. Now, let's move on to the tournament. Obviously, that's the thing on everybody's mind right now. I have no idea what this looks like right now. I feel like there's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It's my first time.
It's his first, that's what she said. She didn't say that. She didn't say that. But, so... Princeton gets the 13 seed in the East region, and that was expected. No one was really talking about a 12 seed for Princeton, no one was talking about a 14 seed either. But then, for me at least, out of nowhere, you got Kentucky with a 4 seed playing Princeton.
Yeah, it's a really tough draw for the Tigers, and Kentucky, certainly by pretty much any measure, doesn't look like a 4 seed.
This matchup does not seem completely different from the one 15 years ago, where the Tigers took on a much more athletic UCLA team, a team full of good shooters, and were able to slow the game down enough to give themselves a fighting chance. Now let's talk about the women a little bit. Obviously we don't want them to be overshadowed. They won the Ivy League outright, didn't have to play a playoff, get a 12 seed to face Georgetown. Now, Georgetown has been shaky in the last few games. What do you think their chances are?
Yeah, this is pretty much the perfect draw for Princeton. It's been played in College Park, Maryland, which are the closest of the regional sites for Princeton. They got a 12 seed instead of a 13, where at least the projection I've been looking at had them looking like a 13 after dropping a game in the Ivy League, not looking quite as strong without Naveen Rashid. But yeah, Georgetown, as you mentioned, looking sort of shaky. Lost 5 of its last 7. Also a guard-oriented team, where it's only 2 real main scorers, both from the outside. So Princeton sort of lost a little bit, not quite as deep in the front court as they could have been, with Rashid suffering that torn ACL in December and out for the year. They're also sort of a guard-oriented team, so it's nice for them to see an opponent that won't dominate them inside.
Right. Now, the men play Thursday at 2:45 on CBS. The women play Sunday, I believe?
Sunday, 2:30 on ESPN2. Both games you can watch online also. Women's game will be on ESPN3, and men's game will be televised on March Madness On Demand, I believe.
And I would really encourage everybody out there to watch it. This is a pretty special year to have Princeton with both the men's and women's team in the tournament. I don't know if that's happened in the Ivy League before. It seems like if it has, it would be pretty rare. It's a big year for Princeton basketball. I mean, 4 years ago, these teams were nothing really, and we've come a long way in a pretty short time. So, yeah, Kevin will be in Tampa for the men's basketball game. So look out for a live blog on that. We'll be doing some not coast to coast, but up and down the seaboard blogging.
Yes.
I'll be blogging from here with my thoughts on the game. Kevin will be obviously there at the game. We'll have a couple other writers there. Sunday we're got full coverage, and over the next couple
live blog on Sunday also from College Park.
And over the next couple of days, it's going to be all basketball all the time, and we got you covered. So stick with us.